acceleration, another turbine-powered machine. 3 of them on this one. What a big puff there, just a little bit past mid-track. The distance 282 and 97.
And I wonder too, Ken, that caught my attention as well. If there's not some kind of mechanical, usually we see that at the beginning, just like a little bit of, extra dirt burn off there in the beginning, but that puff, that's very, very unusual. I know the Bargy clan has spent a lot of time pulling on the state level. They're from Ohio, and if you don't know it, Ohio is rich with pulling. You could probably find pulling 3 or 4 nights a week in the summertime in Ohio, anywhere over there. So there's a bounty of pulls over there to be had, and so they stayed a little closer to home, but venturing out to Hillsboro this weekend for the Champions Tour.
And here comes Brett Berg one more time. We saw him kick off the category, drop down to the bottom. The rink seat moneymaker comes in here second of the points, 5 podiums, including a win at Goshen, Indiana. Gorgeous machine. Wow, and they clearly got that thing ready to rock and roll here in that limited amount of time that they had to work with. Keep in mind, he was the first hook of the class. 3:21 and 31, good enough to slide up into 4th place.
And the big adjustment for him is placing the sled closer to that left sideline, knowing that the track is going to bring him over to the right, and then just letting it roll because he knows he has the distance now. He doesn't have to worry about backing out of it and going out of bounds like he did before, because remember, he said his goal for the weekend was to try to win a belt buckle. Well, you can't win a belt buckle if you get the DQ and you're getting some soft serve with a big 0 there next to your points for the weekend. And so knew he had to keep it in bound and make a valiant effort there to put a big number on the board, and that's what he did. Great adjustments.
He needs a couple more tractors between himself and Brandon Simon, but Simon says to close that points gap back up. As you talked about, Leslie, at the top of the show, there's only 12 points between first and second. Here comes another Walsh Brothers entry. Chris Lenaru doing the driving on Old Blue. And that one just never really dug in and got happy. 2:55 and 82. That will wrap up the category here. Dylan Owens comes out here, makes the long trip from Montgomery, New York, and has a great night here with both tractors. 331.07 will be good enough to win it here, and 320 stock tractors are in the house. Let's kick it off with one of the best. And the Nelson team, Misty Nelson, doing the driving here with that beautiful truck called Midnight Chaos. Didn't pick up the front end till right at the very end, but what would appear to be a very nice number here to kick things off at 3:24 and 71.
She's got a great number on this track, and 1 year ago she felt like she got a little robbed, but she did go out of bounds on that hook on a very awesome pull out there. So as we take a look at our running order, courtesy of Lucas Oil Products, she'll stay at the top, so it looks like they are going to leave the sled setting the way it is. But when you look at the names out here, we have lots of 2-truck teams in the field out here that are going to be really, really competing hard for that belt buckle this weekend in the first of 2 events. And then you got some great Badger State pullers in there as well.
Here comes Wayne Timmerman in the showtime. And burns that one in at a very close 3:23 and 73. Just about 1 foot even.
Yeah, and that's critical here because this track has not been kind to Jason Sullivan in the past, and he's been in this same position where he's had a lead coming in and then left without. So he's really got to be on his A game this weekend if he wants to walk away with that championship.
And Bobby Barbie comes in here with a Willie Make It. 8th in the points with a win at the second hook of the season, followed up with a third place finish and puts 3:23.02 on the board. And that's about 9 inches short of Wayne Timmerman, who is in second. So first, second, third here as they've come out of the box.
And I'm loving the way this class is developing. We've got the first 3 vehicles within 2 feet of each other. It just shows how competitive everyone is out here. As we've got Jansen Smith backed up to the sled here in the truck he calls the stimulus package.
He had a top 5 just 2 hooks to go, and if he can stay here, would have another one. 3:20.35 is good enough for 4th place.
And you can see he tried to follow the same tracks that we saw Nelson take in the Midnight Chaos out here. I think that's what we're going to see develop here is that, and we see it right here as well, is that pullers are going to be really choosy about where they go on the starting line to try to take a chance and put themselves in a position to find some new ground out there. I love the competition, the way everybody's stacking up together, but you've got to set yourself apart if you want to take a win here, and that's what Chaz Fleming's trying to do in the N2 Deep.
Put that thing up on the podium at our second hook of the year. We've not seen him or this truck since. It's a solid truck, and how solid is it? Well, we have a brand new leader at 3:26.24.
And I love the way that he goes to cross-tracks it. Starts on the high left side over there, points the nose over at that right sideline where he's seen everybody finish strong. Just lets the truck float and do its business over there. And that is awesome. And you can see that the weather conditions up here getting a little bit cooler. We've got those foggy windshields out there, and so that cooler air, even though it's a little bit moist, a little contentious with the moisture in there, but that cooler air going to help them create a little bit more horsepower tonight.
Up next will be Michael White in Addiction. Comes in here 4th in the points, has a couple of podiums on the season. And he digs it right down through there as well. Impressive effort here. Our first 6 trucks have all been over 320 feet, and we have a new leader once again at 3:27.60.
And you can really tell when that box tops off, the sound of that engine right there just really pulls down, and you get a great look. We've got 6 weights in the box, so 12,000 pounds on the sled. These guys pulling almost 200.
Covering the super modified 2-wheel drive category, Michael White was our last truck and set the mark to beat at 3:27.60. Up next will be Chad Mayhill and the P5. Comes in here 5th in the points, and out of the last 4 events has been inside of the top 5, including a couple of podiums. But here he got off to a rough start. A few hops in there, and I think it hurt him.
Yeah, and Chad just really hasn't been able to find the level of consistency that he's had the last several years. And so started off a little slow this season, picked it back up, had a little dip there in Salem, Illinois. And so just try to find his ground here on these tracks and just kind of even things out.
Scott Nearing coming up here with the overload, not chasing points. Boy, and that one picked the front end up right away, transferred all that weight to the back tires, and he dug in using all the horsepower he could use. He will put some 10 feet plus on our leader, 338.05.
Rolls it out of the hole beautifully out here, and you can see the front end comes up, and then that box tops off, and it carries, and that's exactly what you wanted to do. From about the 175-foot mark on, it is just pulling perfection out there for Scott Nearing as that front end is up in the air, transferring that weight. You could hear the engine just roaring, staying steady out there through that big hook. And I didn't think this track had that much more in it, but he has shown that it rightly does.
Up next will be a tough Lisa Tatum in the Park City Auto Parts truck. She comes in here 6th into points and fresh off of a win at Salem, Illinois, our last hook. And unfortunately, she's going to be a little bit short of what she needs here tonight at 3:19 and 16.
It looked like she tried to find a fresh spot on the starting line to get.
He's had an incredible run here. How about 7 top 5s out of 8 hooks? Incredible run. 3 of those on the podium, including a win at Goshen. Transfers the weight nicely here, too. It finally pulls that blower motor down. Hard to believe, right? 322 and 10. Not enough to get up into the top 5.
And this is a little bit dangerous for him. You've got to remember that the PPO points work in 2-point increments. And so if he gets past 13th place, he's only going to get 25 points for the night, opening up the door for Jared Nelson, who's right behind him. And you know, Ken, he's also coming off his worst finish of the season in Salem, Illinois. And so I wonder if our motor's getting a little bit tired. You know, I'm sure he took all the maintenance precautions before he got here, but you got to wonder, after being so good and so consistent, is that motor going to hold up through the rest of the weekend?
Up next will be Jared Nelson with the Midnight Revenger. This is the guy that's in 2nd place, just 18 points behind him. Man, and he throws one down. We have a new leader here once again, 341 and 88. And what Leslie just said just came true. How about 6 trucks already between him and Jason Sullivan with the corn burner?
This is just a nightmare for Jason Sullivan, but it is picture perfect for Jared Nelson out here. Just so nice and smooth and easy. It doesn't even really burn it in hard at the top end either. And so a great setup for the team. You know, I talked to Jared earlier in the day and he goes, man, I don't think we even really have a shot at it. But here he's showing that anything can really happen in this super modified 2-wheel drive category. The players are just that good.
Yeah, usually when you've had a season like Jason Sullivan has had, like I said, 7 out of a possible 8 top 5s, you're not expecting him to slip up, but he has definitely opened up the door here tonight. Chad Mayhill there with the 2-time truck, comes in here just outside of the top 10. Comes in here 3rd in the points, 4 podiums, including 2 wins. Wow, and that slow, methodical start might have hurt him there. He's going to lay up short of what we would expect here at 3:20 and 48.
And I think it's the same thing that we saw with Lisa Tatum, where maybe he didn't feel it hook up into the track fast enough, so he had to hold back the throttle a little bit and wait on those tires to really dig in before he gave it more horsepower.
Here comes Tony Fleming with the high maintenance trucks. We have not seen him since the first two hooks at Mackville. A tough truck for sure. We'll see what he throws at everybody. Boy, and he nails it front end up right away like all of our leaders have done. And consequently, a big number on the board. 336.06 is good enough to jump into third place. And more importantly for Jared Nelson, another truck between him and our points leader, Jason Sullivan.
I can't even imagine what Jason Sullivan is feeling on the sidelines, watching the rest of this field come at him, because he was fairly early in the run. And for Tony Fleming, doing a great job taking your teammates' run, because we saw Chaz come out here and really kind of like bust the doors open and put up that 3:26 early, which has since been surpassed. But taking information from your teammate, using it to your advantage, and then furthering your run to give your team opportunities.
The Stone Cold with David O'Driscoll comes in here a little bit deeper in the points. However, the last two hooks has been right there in the thick of things, with a 5th place finish and a 6th place finish. Well, and you could hear him just knock the tires off of that thing in the first part of the hook. Spinning the tires. Finally, they got a bite, pick the front end up, and drives it down through there. Puts a 324.01 on the board, and that's another truck between the 2 points leaders and 16 of the 18 points required.
Oh my goodness, this is getting crazy. It's going to set up a great finale in the afternoon tomorrow to figure out who's going to take this win here. To your point, though, Ken, about blowing those tires off at the starting line, I think that there's a couple critical things here. One, it's the starting line, making sure that you can get moving fast right away. And two, I think we're going to have to see those front ends come up a little bit higher. We saw that from Jared Nelson. We also saw it from Scott Nearian as well, that big wheel stand to pour all the weight into those rear tires to get the most out of the physics of that once that sled is under load and you're the better part of the way down the track.
The hot and nasty, driven by Kyle Timmerman, comes out here. Keep in mind, Wayne Timmerman was second hook of the class, went 3:23 and 73, had a really good look at what was going on here, clearly made some adjustments, and we have a brand new leader again, 347 and 36.
These distances are just astounding, but there we see it. We see the higher wheel stand, and look how he carries it out to the very end. So perfect displacement of weight for these guys. And they're kind of like the mini rods, right? So they've got 6,200 pounds out here. It's a full-bodied truck, and so it's heavy out there. So they move 20, 30, 40 pounds at a time, just like those mini rods do, to try to get that balance. And this team did their homework. They looked at their notes, and they found that setup that worked for them.
Up next, I always love this Apache, man. This thing looks absolutely beautiful. Tim Deppie, and appropriately named Old School. And another nice looking effort here. More importantly, take a look at that number. It is more than 322, and it is less than 341. That is another truck in between the 2 points leaders of Nelson and Sullivan. And if Mike Gorilla math is correct, we now have a tie at the top for the points lead.
And there's still 3 to go here. So it could be a huge swing for Jared Nelson. Let's see what Ethan Friedrich has going on here with the side job.
Well, the Clash used to be loaded with these tee buckets back in the day. A couple of rule changes, you don't see them quite as much, and the distance here at 3:07 and 17 will not be applied. There was a big difference between distances. Jason Sullivan, it opened up the door. This is Jeremy Nelson. Yes, that is the brother of Jared. Jeremy drives it down through there. 3:29 and 14. And again, between the 3:22 and the 3:41 of our points leaders, that should give the nod to Jared Nelson as a points leader.
This is just wild. And here's the best part for Jared Nelson. He's got Bethany behind him. And so that means that he's got another opportunity to gain some points. We do want to note, though, there is one more hook here at Hillsboro as they take a closer look there at Jeremy Nelson's truck just to see if he's got any mechanical damage. And so this is really kind of setting up the grand finale of the Super Modified two-wheel drives, which will happen in the afternoon tomorrow.
Final truck in the category, and yes, she is a former champ. Matter of fact, multi-time champ and the reigning champ from 1 year ago. And she throws a solid number on the board at 3:32 and 59, and that will be another truck between them as they go into the final hook tomorrow, as Leslie was speaking of, and it makes Kyle Timmerman our winner. Let's watch this one more time.
And, you know, Bethany here is just trying to make a solid effort because she is so nervous. She hates being the last hook of the class and does it in true champion style out here, as she does have to cross track a little bit or that distance would have been legged out quite a bit. And
4 hooks of the season. And with an effort like that from Patrick Gentry, just might win this one. Listen to this number, 365 and 48.
Never have I ever heard a distance like that, especially here at Hillsboro. Look at that huge footprint from those rear tires. Definitely runs out of chalk line, and he's headed for the sand pile out there. There is no way that our everything down before they have to make a second attempt.
Oh, Bradley Hartman needs to get that thing stopped. Actually, he's going to be okay here. They did reset the sled, so this is the first test puller after the sled reset, and boy, did he dodge a bullet here. He comes in here third in the points, does have a couple of podiums on the season, in fact, 3 of them, but clearly some sort of a mechanical there very early on. Up next will be Connor Metting. And the name of that beautiful John Deere is called the Bull Wagon. And comes in here 7th in the points. You can see that thing wrinkling up the back tires. 3:18 and 47 will be the official mark to beat.
And you can see they really made some severe changes to the sled. My guess is that they dropped the pan just a little bit sooner. And look how fast that box is moving up the rails of the sled to put the brakes on that vehicle so much quicker. You can see it's loaded down with weights back there. They've normally got 10 weights in the box. Sometimes, if they need to, they can throw an extra one in there, but an extra 20,000 pounds on the sled is what it takes to really stop these pro stocks who are making between 4,000 and 5,000 horsepower.
Up next will be John Link with the Revelation Pro. We've not seen him at all this year. 1 year ago, finished up 6th in the points with a couple of podiums. We'll see how the International does here for the Red fans. Front end up and down way over there by the chalk line. Did not see a red flag, so I think he's legal here. And the distance will be 300 even, .28.
And I know, Ken, he's been waiting on parts for most of the season. Finally got it back together. He's originally from Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, which is about an hour down the road, so he couldn't resist trying to make it a debut here at Hillsboro for the season.
Up next will be Clint Menning with a bulletproof buck. Comes in here 5th in the points. Still hungry for that first podium. And the distance right here, 3:08.17. That is good enough for second place as it stands right now.
A little worried about that cloud of smoke around the tractor, but we'll get that cleared and bring you more.
Has not been out here chasing points inside of this category this year. They have been busy, though, and when they do show up, they certainly make some noise. 3:25 and 93. That is a brand new leader, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like this is a repeat of Hillsboro past here with Brandon Simon just bringing the loud and heavy out here and just throwing it down. It wasn't an easy hook for him, though. It was kind of like weaving back and forth on those rear tires, and so he really had to do a lot of driving and really kind of keep it in that line that he wanted out there. And so the track not making it easy for him, but definitely showing the horsepower they've got under the hood.
Up next will be Corey Bobb and the Whiskey Wilds. Only been to 3 hooks on the podium, 2 of those, including a win at... And that one chirps the turbo as it spools back down at 300.34.
And he definitely went back to notes of pulling past to choose the line down that right sideline. For several years here at Hillsboro, that was the spot to be. You wanted to park your vehicle as close as you could to that chalk line and then just ride the lightning all the way down. Unfortunately for Corey tonight, that doesn't seem to be the spot. We saw the winner from our Super Modified 2-wheel drive class, and the pullers that had the most success come from the middle or come from the left.
And again, way over there by the chalk line, looked like he had to bring it back just a little bit, which would require some braking action, which always deters from the distance. 3:07 and 89 for the red Cadillac.
You know, and I kind of mentioned some of those Badger State tractor pullers that are super tough, that stay in the state of Wisconsin. And I think some of our Champions Tour guys are glad for that. Here's another one, Greg Elsing, the T8 Tomcat.
And how about that New Holland, ladies and gentlemen? An incredible number right here as he comes out and puts 3:39 on the board and takes over the lead by a bunch.
And it's really a fairly smooth hook. He's got that one little bobble in the beginning to get that front end up in the air. But after that, silky smooth to the top end. And this tractor has really come a long way in the last 2 years. Greg Elsing and his team have worked very, very hard to put that blue on top. And they have created an amazing performance program to do it.
Justin Wagler, another player inside of this category. with the Real Deer Pro. Look at that flame. Comes in here fourth into points, and he's going to get after it. Wow, these last couple of tractors are certainly showing us there's a bunch left out here. 335 and 52.
You know, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't textbook, but man, does he show us what kind of power he's got. If he can leg it out there 335 feet and pick that front end up and down multiple times, you know